Suspect has been identified tonight in the prison stabbing of former hip-hop star Tory Lanez. According to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, Lanez was stabbed by inmate Santino Casio at a housing unit at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi. That attack happened early yesterday morning. An Instagram post from Lanez's account says he was stabbed 14 times in that attack, causing both of his lungs to collapse. The post goes on to say he's now breathing normally and is in good spirits.
The suspect accused of stabbing Tory Lanez in prison, identified as Santino Casio, has not yet been formally charged as of August 2025. Casio is currently being held in restrictive housing, while the incident remains under investigation by prison officials and the Kern County District Attorney's Office. The DA's office has stated they are, quote, awaiting a formal complaint following the investigation before considering formal charges. Now, regarding motive, Casio has publicly claimed he acted in self-defense. According to multiple reports, he believed there was a rumor that Tory Lanez had allegedly placed a bounty on his life, leading Casio to believe his safety was threatened. Casio stated he observed what he thought was a bulge on Lanez, suspected to be a weapon, and attacked out of fear for his own safety. Lanez's legal representatives have dismissed these claims as unfounded and characterized them as fabrications from someone serving a life sentence for serious crimes. In May 2025, Lanez's legal team claims new evidence.
Pretty simple, right? Maybe not. Turns out that DNA, only a 0.01% chance that the DNA is from Lanez. He's always maintained his innocence. He was sentenced to 10 years, so this is really about the testimony. Lanez, so what happens? So he goes away, recently stabbed 14 times in prison. Many say it was a hit, okay? Because new evidence is about to come out. All right, a little conspiratorial, but he was definitely stabbed. Lanez supporters believe that the media doesn't care because Megan Thee Stallion is represented by Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Now, I could give a damn about Jay-Z or his company. This just wasn't a case on my radar until now. Why? Anna Paulina Luna. She is a representative from Florida. You see her here on a regular basis. She says she's got new evidence, says it wasn't him. And she joins us now. Representative APL, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be back on. And thanks for taking a look at this case.
No, listen, you tell me to take a look at it, I'll look at it. But why did you look at it? I mean, this isn't your jurisdiction. I don't know you to have any connection to any of these people.
Yeah, so as you know, we are on oversight and accountability, and so this case was actually initially flagged for me by Amber Rose. And the reason why I took particular interest in it is because of the fact that they actually had evidence that they presented to me in my office that actually disproved the conviction. So as you stated earlier, that 0.01% of DNA, they actually found 4 people's DNA on that firearm, none of which was Tory's. Not to mention there was 0 fingerprints on the actual magazine. And also too, as you said, 0.01% chance. I mean, that evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. Also, there's been ring footage that's been obtained that actually disproves the whole dance, Megan. And so what we're seeing is really there was a case of he said, she said. The evidence wasn't actually respected and properly adhered to actually in the trial. And then they also were doing something that I would find pretty wild and egregious. They're actually submitting his lyrics for rap as evidence to the crime. So look, first and foremost, you have to have a free and fair society. That means we need to respect and uphold the justice system. So I actually reached out today to Gavin Newsom's office, and we are requesting an emergency meeting. We're also working with other Democrats, specifically to the California delegation. But I think that this is something that's pretty egregious, that the way that this was handled, the way that it was. I think that it was largely driven by headlines. And aside from the people involved and the parties involved, obviously I take domestic violence, I take this very seriously, Chris. But I also take very seriously the fact that I do believe, based on the evidence that I've seen, that Tory's innocent. And I think that it's such a really bad message when you have someone of his stature, and also to someone that is as influential as he is, that's being wrongfully incarcerated. And that's exactly why we wanted to use our megaphone for a good reason and help get him his pardon, which I think he'll get.
So Luna, who did it? I mean, she says, and her friends say, that he did it. And who else would have done it? And what proof do you have to support that? I get it. Maybe they didn't make the case the right way with the weapon, but who did it?
You know, Chris, that's not for me to weigh in, and that's definitely for the judge and the jury. But what I will tell you is, based on the evidence that we have, the evidence that we have says that he wasn't the guy. And so I do think that Gavin Newsom has some great attorneys that will look at this, but I'd also like to point out that the prosecutor specifically on this case that initially brought the charges is a very interesting prosecutor. Look into who ran him. And at the end of the day, you know, I think Hollywood, as you know, Chris, and politics does overlap, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened there. So look at the evidence for yourself. We've posted it for the entire world to see, to determine for themselves. And I know that Tory's legal team actually has an incredible case. And so we are calling on Gavin Newsom to issue that pardon immediately. And also remember, he was almost killed in jail. I actually talked to him today on the phone, and he said that once he does get out, once he does get this pardon, which I do feel confident that he'll be getting, he's going to work extensively in prison reform, because this should never happen to anyone.
Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Ms. Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity, and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement, and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. Passenger side is where Ms. Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Ms. Pete, did not shoot at Ms. Pete, or did not assault Ms. Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson. Unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Ms. Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken and again, simply not given to the defense?
Lanez's lawyers argue this proves Lanez's innocence and call for his sentence to be commuted. Meghan's attorney, Alex Spiro, responds that the case was properly adjudicated and not a political matter.
Tory Lanez story, right? He and Megan Thee Stallion are at a party together. They get into an argument, reportedly, or not reportedly. Megan says Lanez got out and shot at her feet and hit her. Lanez was convicted, sentenced to 10 years in prison. Now, Tory's team says it didn't happen that way. It never happened that way. He was railroaded. Now, he did not testify in his own defense, but he does maintain his innocence. Now, the most interesting evidence is what has just come out, which was somebody saying, I witnessed it, and it was a female who fired the weapon. Listen to this.
You see the girl doing the shooting?
I
see what appears to be the girl standing here and shooting into the car. That's what it looked like to me. But it was dark, and I'm above, so... But then the guy gets out again from the back.
Now, the guy testified, though, so why wasn't it enough for the jury? But it does corroborate what a bodyguard who did not, who wasn't part of the incident there, but was with Megan Thee Stallion's friend afterwards when she was going to court, and he says in an affidavit that he heard her say, I don't want to tell on myself, but that he believes he heard her say it was her. Now, it's not what Megan Thee Stallion said. It's not what that friend said at trial, and he was convicted. So, what is the other side of the story? I want to bring in Megan Thee Stallion's lawyer, Alex Spiro. Alex, counsel, it's good to have you. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of this now very public campaign to say Tory Lanez was framed?
Yeah, Chris, I'm reluctant to give any attention or oxygen to this nonsense. It's gotten to the point where I felt I needed to clear this up, and given the history of domestic violence against women in this country and across the world, and given what's happening here, I think I have an obligation to Meg and others. The reality is he was convicted by a jury of his peers based on overwhelming evidence. The evidence in this case is basically as strong as it could possibly be. He was found at the scene with the firearm that shot her. The shell casings matched the gun. He confessed. She says he did it. The eyewitness says he did it. There was never any dispute or doubt in this case, which is why he was convicted so quickly. So the rest of this is nonsense, but I deal with it.
Some more in the actual document. So it says Tory Lanez team can't keep his story straight. Last week they argued that Kelsey Harris shot Megan, and now they're claiming that Megan only stepped on glass. They continue to rehash old evidence from trial and repackage it as new information to desperately sway public opinion. There was no new evidence displayed today. It's simply a sad attempt from Tory's team to copy our presentation format to peddle misinformation. It's embarrassing that Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is integrating herself into the California criminal justice system for clickbait. Instead, she should be focused on serving her own constituents in Florida rather than chasing celebrities. Okay, they doing what they can to save face. In the meantime, the whole time, all day, Megan Thee Stallion has been rolling out a swim care line. So,
following Tory Lanez's conviction in the Megan Thee Stallion shooting case, a notable group of celebrities have publicly shown him support. This backing has come in various forms, from social media statements and concert shoutouts to promoting the Change.org petition calling on Governor Newsom to pardon him, and even using his music in high-profile promotions. Some of the most well-known figures expressing support include Drake, Chris Brown, Kanye West, Kodak Black, Ty Dolla $ign, Amber Rose, Trippie Redd, A Boogie With Da Hoodie, Popcorn, Joyner Lucas, Meek Mill, Gilly, Nicki, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna.
All right, y'all. I just got off the phone with Tory Lanez's father, and I got the pleasure of meeting him in DC a few weeks ago and got to hear a little bit about their story. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I am going to review all the case files and the evidence that was put forth. But I want to know, do you believe that Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion? Do you or do you not? Because I find things to be very interesting that I have begun reviewing. And I really don't know if he did. I also do believe in my heart, after I have reviewed certain things, that there was some corruption to go on in this case. And I just wanted to read a few things off to you that you may not know. I would love for you to challenge my beliefs. I would love for you to tell me your thoughts and who you think shot who and what exactly you think happened. But just to read off to you a few things that you may not know. Megan told police, and I will preface this by saying these are things that have allegedly been said. because Lord knows I don't need Megan Thee Stallion coming after me. But Megan allegedly told police and doctors that she stepped on glass, not that she was shot. Video and officers confirmed Megan stepped on a glass bottle, not hit by gunfire. Sean Kelly testified. 2 women fought in the street. One fired first. Tory was still in the car. Kelsey tested positive for gunshot residue. Her DNA was never tested against the gun. Kelsey received free rent for a year after the shooting. Who paid for it and why? EJ said an object in the girl's luggage looked like a gun. Megan claimed she spoke out in response to Tory, but the timeline proves that she went public first. Tory's DNA was not found on the magazine, only 0.01% on the gun. Statistically irrelevant. 0.01% of his DNA was found on the gun. This truly is statistically irrelevant. If you shoot someone, more DNA is on the gun. 90% of the DNA on the gun belonged to an unknown male, not Tory. Tory's jail call, that I believe went viral, was the calls where he made an apology. That was about the drama of sleeping with 2 friends, not the incident that occurred. Tory has repeatedly said, "I would never do anything like this." No bullet fragments on the x-ray, no nerve damage, fractures, or joint trauma in Megan's medical records. Bullet fragments were lost and never presented at trial. Prosecutors misused Tory's rap lyrics, tattoos, and uncharged allegations to sway the jury. Kelsey's story changed multiple times, and she admitted to lying under pressure. Megan's own timeline and injuries don't match the story of a shooting. So the bottom line is the facts don't add up. The case against Tory Lanez was built on shifting stories, missing evidence, and lies. So I would love to know if you believe do you believe that this case was built on lies and prosecutorial misconduct? Do you believe that Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion?
All right, joining me now, influencer, TV personality, musical muse, Amber Rose, and now social justice advocate. Amber, thank you. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. What do you want people to know about why you are advocating for Tory Lanez?
I'm advocating for Tory Lanez because the evidence shows that he's innocent, and he deserves to be pardoned by Governor Gavin Newsom. You know, he's 100% exonerated from the gun, and for that alone, he should be home with his family.
Well, the DNA showed that it could have been any of 4 people, but he sent the text apologizing, and Megan Thee Stallion and her friend Kelsey there that night said it was him. What do you do with that?
Well, I heard the whole story from Tory's mouth. He called me personally from prison, and I now understand why he said sorry, and it's not for any shooting at all. So I'll let him tell that story when he comes home, but the sorry was not for what people think it was for.
Right now, Tory Lanez, they have new developments in his case right now going on.
I'm glad you said that.
He was recently stabbed 14 times.
Yeah.
And he survived it.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on what was going on?
So let me use this opportunity to say this. Tory, I apologize for, I made a post because I was just so disgusted about what I heard. And I should know better. Because I done heard plenty of shit about me that ain't true. You feel me?
I feel you.
And I might have been harboring some issues with, like, you know,
trauma,
a little trauma and the fact that, you know, it's still some business that need to be worked out on that Say It record.
Yeah.
But I owe Tory Lanez an apology, and I'm gonna do it here publicly.
Okay.
Because I sort of jumped on the bandwagon of shame on him. Why did he do that? He got found guilty, blah, 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 blah. I was not fully in my case. I was not understanding. You know, I was naive. I believe that you go through this due process and you go through the judicial system and then you lay out your facts and they... So I'm not going to speak on it for a second time prematurely, but I'm going to say this. If there was evidence that was suppressed, if there is any possibility that Tory Lanez did not do this, that man deserves a retrial. He deserves the opportunity to present, because we all kind of felt like something, and this isn't me, you know, because I don't have a personal issue with him or a personal issue with Meg.
Yeah.
I have an issue with any system that will allow somebody to suffer without having them have an opportunity to lay out all the facts. Period.
While Kim Kardashian did not make a direct statement, her use of Lanez music in an ad sparked public discussion and was interpreted by some as indirect support.
So as you heard, Tory Lanez writs have been denied by the appeal court. Now, I know this came as a surprise since most were not expecting any decisions to be made until after oral arguments. Since they said they would consider the writs with the appeal, they did. And this was their decision. So basically this means that these are issues that cannot be raised during the oral arguments unless they also made similar arguments in the appeal as well. So for those who do not understand, a writ of habeas corpus is not an appeal. It is a separate legal action that challenges the legality of your detention. So basically you are complaining that your detention is illegal and you'd like them to review certain issues you believe should grant you immediate relief. It's an attack on custody, not a full review of the trial proceedings, which is what an appeal is. So the court is saying that they don't believe that he presented good enough arguments that should grant him immediate relief. This is not the appeal. He has not lost the appeal. He has never lost any appeal. There has been no decisions made on the appeal. They have not done oral arguments yet on the appeal, and no decisions will be made on the appeal until after those oral arguments are made. So please stop thinking that this is a bad thing related to his appeal. It is not. It is just one portion of it. The appeal is what we are hoping will go well. So no need to panic. Okay?